Are you ready to get the Hydrafacial glow? Loved in 87 countries across the world. It's not a facial, it's a Hydrafacial. Now available across the UK. Visit hydrafacial.co.uk to find your nearest location.
You know, you give birth to 3 girls and then suddenly they're not girls. And so you just have to get your head around that. I think I would just accept my kids, whoever they are. I just want my children to show up as themselves and feel that they are loved and celebrated, whoever they are.
Hello. How is everybody?
Oh,
there's someone missing.
I know. Well, I think it's Jane, actually. Jane is actually flying. She's in flight at the moment.
Oh, she's
and just about to land. Yes.
Oh, well,
and
that's how it goes.
Talking about landing,
Yes.
I have to tell you that the other day I was wearing flip-flops, walked outside, and my stones outside, my paving is really rickety. You know, it's very sort of shabby chic, I have to say. And and I tripped and fell over, flat on my face. Well, actually,
Oh, gee, that's horrible.
I know.
Oh my goodness, where?
Oh
Oh my God, darling.
I know it's really come. Actually, it's worse than it looks worse than it is, but it really. And I saw stars. You know when you see stars, there were no stars because it was daytime.
And it's so fast when it happens.
It is. And I thought, am I having a fall or have I just fallen over?
Yes,
Bit of both.
when do you go? When do you go from falling over to having a fall? When does that happen?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
we never say having a fall, we just say
No,
falling over.
we say fell over. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I remember
That's
somebody
what it
said that to
was.
me not very long ago. They said, "Oh, I heard you had a fall." Oh, she's here.
Jane, welcome.
We didn't know where you're chatting. Oh,
We heard from Aviation Authority that you were flying in, and here you are.
Yes.
Welcome.
we did.
Goodness, you're here. Anyway, we were just showing Dee. Dee, show Jane your hand.
Bruised. Because I fell over. I had sandals on, and outside I was just saying that outside my house it's all rickety, and so it caught in one of the stones, and I went flying. And we're just talking about having a fall or falling over. You know, when
Yes,
you get to
that's
certain
another
age.
aging thing, isn't it? When do you go from having a fall to falling over to having a fall?
Having a fall.
Yes.
And that's what most of us die of in the end, apparently.
Okay, happy days.
Is it?
Thanks for that.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's the biggest cause of death by accident is a fall. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's happy
Well,
Friday.
You wonder because you'll end up in hospital and then, you know.
Do you know what, Jane? I'm not surprised. I was just saying to the girls that when I fell out, I literally saw stars.
Yeah.
And it was so kind of
You saw stars, but Harry
Darling,
and I weren't there.
Exactly. And was that taking you back to the 70s, darling? The stars.
Oh yes.
Yeah. And also, can you not blame your shoes, please? Because I'm thinking it's your paving. You're blaming
It is my
you
paving.
said
No.
different shoes. I think you can't blame the shoes, darling.
We now have a friend of the show, the amazing Carrie Grant MBE. Come in, Carrie.
Yay!
Hey! How are you, darling?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm getting there, you know, one day at a time.
One day at a time, absolutely. We all say that to each other, and it's so fabulous to see you again. And thank you so much for coming back into our nest, darling. You're
Thank you for
always
having
welcome.
me. Oh, thank you. I love coming on your show. It's great.
Oh, it's wonderful to have you. Anyway, I've been fortunate enough to actually visit you in your lovely house, and I never want to leave because it's so welcoming, and you know your family is so brilliant, and you know your kids are wonderful, so lovely to me.
We do have
I know-
security. We do have security, so we can get rid of them.
Oh
And
my
you know
God.
what, Carrie? I know that you've had a lot of challenges in your life, and you know ongoing challenges, but you always fill your house with people. You love that, don't you? To have a full house.
Yeah, I just love having loads of people. I think because when I was growing up, my mum loved to have a really tidy house. So you could literally eat your dinner off the floor, that kind of house. And then she didn't really like having any guests. So I never had like school friends over. And then when I met David and sort of entered into this whole kind of Jamaican culture of There's always a pot on the stove. There's always people in your kitchen telling you their entire life. I just thought this is such a great way to live. I want to live like this. And so when I was 20, everything just changed. And, I live in a village, and the village is my house. And I love that way of living. There are times where I just need to be on my own. I'm also someone who needs space, but I do love this idea of people just encouraging one another, pushing each other on, and really just being there for each other. I think, like communities, we need communities. And I feel like that's what we've lost, so much of that sense of that in our country. And I feel like, well, if you don't have one, then let's just make one up right here, right now. Let's put on a show.
Oh, absolutely. You are so right. And we bumped into each other at the Soap Awards the other night and had a shriek, as always. But why were you there, darling?
I was there because my second child, Tylen, is in Hollyoaks. And so I always get the great pleasure every year, although it hasn't been on for the last few years. And so it was just fantastic to all be back in the room. Yeah. But Tylen came away with COVID, and then I got COVID. So,
oh, no.
The gift,
it was on the ticket. You didn't realise it was a free gift. You should have looked.
That was your goodie bag this year, a nice place for COVID. But hey, we're over it now. Thank God it's not like that first round. And it's nearly as bad.
It's so fascinating. He's in that world.
Yeah, absolutely. And the children are just, the first two have gone into the arts, which, that was the worst career. We're like, do not go into the arts. Go and get a proper job. And then, damn it, they both decided that was the route for them. So, but I'm really pleased because, the older one is just doing this huge series, American TV series. And then Tyler in Hollyoaks, and then Arlo starts, the next one down. He's like, well, they're really good at art. They're really good at writing.
And it's like Debbie's grandson is already doing voiceovers.
Is that true?
But no, he's gone into it too late as far as I'm concerned. Kira did her first gurgle over when she was 18 months old, and she was the youngest child ever to do a play on Radio 4 as a monologue when she was 4. Archie is now the voice of Edmund the elephant in Peppa Pig, and he's nearly 8. Come on.
I'm so sorry. I had no idea.
I love it. I love it. Child stars.
I wanted to talk about your book, because I saw in Bookseller that you've just done a deal with Piatkas and for a very modern family, and your family story is just extraordinary. It's almost become, I wouldn't say a second career, but, family life for you is, as you said, it's a community, obviously, but you've gone through so many things, and it's going to be a sort of guide to people with, in an age when we have to be more aware of children growing up in a very pressured way, but the differences in amongst our children.
Yeah, and we can't really avoid it. I think that we want to hark back to the old days where no one got any of these diagnoses back in our day. We all just got on with it. Well, actually, they used to lock them away. That's what used to happen.
Did you have to battle for a diagnosis?
Oh, yeah. The whole thing from start to finish, our children they have so many intersections, so that they are neurodivergent, 2 are autistic, 2 have got ADHD, 1 is adopted, they're all mixed race, obviously. They are gender fluid, their sexualities are not just, heterosexual. So, there's a lot of things going on. And as a parent, you have to understand, like, you enter this world and you're like, oh my gosh, I suddenly need to catch up. I need to understand, how do I do this bit well? Because all the ideas that you have about parenting, which, for David and I, they were just out of date. The way that we wanted to bring our children up just was not going to work for these kids. And so I feel like they've taught us more than we've taught them at this stage. They are really extraordinary. And I don't think that it all has to be negative either. I think that there is, when there's that amount of diversity, there's something really incredible. Like, we loved lockdown. We loved all just being together because it was a really lovely, accepting environment.
You're now the only girl in the family, though. Is that?
I am.
Is that strange, or have you adapted to that?
It's totally. Yeah, I have adapted to that, but it is strange. Yeah, it's not something that you imagine, that you give birth to 3 girls and then suddenly they're not girls, and so you just have to get your head around that. And for me, it really wasn't about saying the right thing to them. I think I would just accept my kids, whoever they are. I just want my children to show up as themselves and feel that they are loved and celebrated, whoever they are. But for me, obviously, as a mum who really was like, I really want girls and this is how I imagine it's going to be, and then it isn't that way, there's an adjustment for me. I've had to make that adjustment, and I've had to adapt how I think and my expectations. And that might take a little longer than just getting someone's pronouns right. They're not the issue. The issues mainly are when you try to interact with school. And so you might have a child that is refusing to go to school, and you as a parent are caught between the attendance officer who's going to come down hard on you if you don't send your child in, and your child who might try to kill themselves that day if you keep insisting that they're going to go in. And you as a parent have to battle both those sides. So at one point you're trying to talk your child out of ending their life, and on the other phone you're going, I'm really sorry, but I just can't get my child in today. And they're like, well, Mrs. Grant, it's not very good, you're only at 98% now attendance, and so handling all of that is like the last thing you need at that point. I always think this, I don't know about you, but we've all had, at our ages, we've all had friends who've got cancer, who've had a cancer journey. And if someone's had a cancer journey and they're having to deal with the loss of their job and they have no money, you're like, actually, that's awful. It's like just at that point where you just need all the attention and all the love and all the affirmation, all the empathy. You've got to battle with something else. And it's the something else that often is the thing that brings you down. So it's not really the children. Often it is battling with schools. And some schools have been amazing, by the way, but most, in my experience, aren't, which is why, as you said, my world has changed. And I have had to go from not just vocal coaching to actually leadership coaching, collaboration. How do we lead well? How do professionals lead well when they have children who are very divergent? And that, I guess, as I've shape-shifted into that role just out of necessity, really. And then someone said, can you write a book about it? And then here I am.
And David, have you been because, parenting with 2 of you, because very often one of you has one view and the other has the other. Have you been completely united in raising these extraordinary children? No.
100% no. So to begin with, yes, we were both really like, we're going to be strict parents. We both grew up with very strict cultures and parents. And we thought, that's it. We are literally going to be that family that everyone looks and goes, what an amazing, family they are. What great kids. And they're so well behaved. And aren't they perfect? And then we realized we weren't really going to get that. And so I think I jumped ship first. So I was like, we can't do it like this. It's not working. You can't just keep pulling a child down the stairs to try and get them into school. This is not the way we want to parent. It's not good for their mental health or ours. And so I changed first, and David was adamant, like, no way, we stick to this is how we do it. This is what we agreed. And it took him ages to get on the same page. And in that ages moment of probably 1.5 years, 2 years, it was really hard. Me telling him off in front of the children whilst we're parenting, I did all the things you're not meant to do. That just because I was so desperate for him to change. And therapy really helped us. We went to trauma therapy, and a therapist began to say all the things that I had been saying, and then suddenly he could hear it, which is bitter not. But yeah, that's just how it is. Sometimes you need to hear it from somebody else. And then once he jumped on board, he's like, now, he's totally different now. But it did take.
You're probably the epitome of unconditional love.
Yeah.
Well, I like to think so. I like to think so, but that you're tested on that every day, aren't you, as a parent? You're always.
I kind of understand that diversity because it's your baby. It doesn't matter what they are. is your baby. And so therefore,
What they do, yeah.
as long as they're here, it really is irrelevant. And I think the thing is with the way the education thing, don't get me started on education, because it is so ridiculous the way that we are put into these streams and pushed in certain ways. And I mean, I'm sure all of you guys had it at school. Because I was good at English and because I was good at drama, they wanted me to do chemistry and maths. Why?
Yes, it's insane, isn't it? I mean, the artists have never really been understood. So we kind of understand that way. We understand that school doesn't always work. But I do think that school was better 30 years ago, 40 years ago than it is now. I think that I had a much better experience at school. I think that I was the kid that loved dancing, and they were like, okay, you can have the gym during the lunch times and you can do your dancing. You know, I found them quite accommodating.
I was talking to a teacher the other day for one of my grandchildren, and she said they have to stick to tick so many boxes. And she's an incredible teacher, really fantastic. But she said so many schools now are just, you know, they worry more about how they're coming across than the kids.
Yeah, and everyone wants a nice little plastic banner outside their school that says outstanding, and nothing else matters other than that word, really.
Yeah,
I think also what happens is we have so many rules, and rather than talking about mindset and the spirit of a school, the feel of a school, to me, the spirit and the feel of a school and the mindset is what matters. Otherwise, if you don't have that bit right, all you end up with is 1,000 rules that nobody can keep. The teachers, the students, the senior leadership team, no one can keep all those rules. But if we put love, unconditional love, acceptance, celebrating of the individual, if you put those things at the forefront, a lot of those rules just fall into place because we have the right mindset. So to me, it's really not about giving people another set of, here's 10 more things you need to be doing, teachers. It actually is about, do we really care about our future of our nation? Because these children are going to lead our nation. These children are going to be our nation. So how much do we really value them and really want to hear from them and include them in that process?
It's very interesting because my little grandson, well, I've got 2 grandsons, a third one coming soon, but the eldest one is, you know, he's very, very different. He doesn't comply, really, not necessarily. He's a good boy, he's a good boy, gorgeous boy. But the little one is very out there, you know, he's different, but at school, he is a model. He does everything he's told because that's who he is. So if a teacher tells him, he'll do anything. He'll be fast, he'll be quick. At home, he goes, look, but the other one is kind of the other way around, which I think is really interesting. How the little one is a compliance. Yeah, he will do that because someone has told him to, whereas the older one doesn't do that.
And I think this is it. I think that we were all more compliant, weren't we, when we were younger? We just thought, you go to school and the teachers, that's authority, so you have to be compliant. Whereas these days that is very different. And also, of course, if you weren't compliant, you just got hit. So these days, it's not, you know, we're not doing life that way anymore, are we? We're actually listening to children and we're giving them value.
When I was young in the 60s, I'm dyslexic, but it wasn't even discussed or even thought about then. And I was just told I was stupid and lazy. And that was throughout my childhood. I was never good enough. And of course, then I went into classical ballet, which is not judgmental at all. So it was a lovely journey. And then thank God I found the acting. But anyway, but again, at that era in the 60s, nobody knew about it, or if they knew about it, it was dismissed. And it has always affected me, that sense of stupid and lazy. I have a company that works internationally. I teach a lot doing, you know, coaching and things. I teach at lots of adult schools. I don't have an exam to my name. And I think, F you to all of you who said stupid and lazy. It hasn't made one bit of difference, and I've had a career for 40 years. Thank you.
Exactly. And I think the thing is, the thing that drives me mad, I mean, my favorite book, of course, is Emotional Intelligence, which is just, you know, it's a book that when I started to read it, I thought, oh my God, this is exactly how I feel. But you think now that all people are looking for are, you know, whatever degrees in this and that and the other, but all of our successful business people, most, not all of them, but a lot of them, had no degrees, nothing to their name, because they didn't comply at school. They weren't those kind of people. And we have to give these kind of people who are not necessarily, you know, what is academic? What is academia? What does that mean? They can only be academics, and academics are only academics who teach other academics. You know, where does your soul come in? Sorry, Jane.
I was going to say, we want our children to question things, don't we? And I think that our compliance of our childhoods was not terribly healthy, really, because, you know, I'm sensing your children have been rebels, you know, and I think I was too, but I didn't do very well at school, and it seems to be interesting that none of us did.
Congratulations, Donna, because that equals success. Thank you.
It obviously does.
Debbie and I are going to do maths GCSE.
Yes,
the only thing I would say though is, Harriet, you know, I hear your success, and that is wonderful. And you know what? That's in spite of how you had your schooling. And yet for so many of us, what it has also bred is low self-esteem, a sense of not being good enough, that little voice that says the whole time, even when you're in your 60s, you're lazy, you're not doing enough, you'll never be good enough, you have to prove yourself, you're an imposter. So in a way, yes, you have in spite of your schooling, but it never leaves you. It's like adult bullying. It never leaves you.
I don't think Radio Harriet doesn't start first thing in the morning. And I have to tune her the blank out because she talks bollocks to me all day. I'm not thin enough, young enough, or blonde enough.
Yeah,
true. We all have that.
Enough, Harry.
I know.
I wouldn't want you to be blonde enough. But I hear you. I hear you. I think that is a challenge for all of us, particularly also look around, you know, when you've grown up and you're the pretty child, you know, there was also, just from a feminist point of view, we were brought up to believe you will go out and you'll be glamorous and you'll dance and that will be it. You know, we never thought about, I might direct, I might produce, I might, you know, in a working class sense, we didn't have that sense. That's why for me, writing books, I'm like,
I wasn't a pretty I was not a pretty child. I was a little fat.
I don't believe that for a minute.
Oh no, I was a little fat child. In fact, I found a photograph of myself which I showed to my grandson, who said, the oldest one, who said, "That's me." And I said, "No, it's me." And he went, "You look exactly like me."
Oh, you're gorgeous. I think I saw this. You put this on social media.
Wow.
I was also a little plump, little round child, and that has never left me, actually. But you know, which is great now to know that, you know, people are embracing people, plus size people now, which is fantastic.
So I wondered, of all the voices that you heard, like from Billie Eilish, who's 20, to Maka, who's 80, you know, whose voice interests you and what could you do? I mean, that's me knowing nothing about voice coaching.
I think it was really interesting having, you know, the youngest to the oldest, wasn't it? You know, Billie Eilish and Paul McCartney, 20 to 80. And, you know, when you're younger, you can kind of, it's a bit like going out and drinking. You can cane it when you're young. And then eventually your body starts, you have to pay for it. You get the invoice at some point.
You do.
Can't go on like that. So you then have to kind of think about, how do I do this well? And I was really interested actually to hear the difference between, I don't know if you remember this, Paul McCartney at the opening of the Olympics in 2012, where his voice was really weak and really quite under the note. Glastonbury, he played 2 3/4 hours. And I thought his singing was amazing. Everything that I've heard is brilliant. I know people are like, oh, he doesn't sound like he used to. I think he sounded absolutely incredible. And that is the difference between someone who has just thought, I'm going to play 3 songs at the Olympics. We'll just, you know, I'll rehearse a couple of days before, compared with someone who knows they've got to pull off a nearly 3-hour set and has probably been rehearsing for months for that. And that's like anything. It's muscular. So when you're running, when you're 20, it's much easier to get fit than it is at 50 or 60, you know, and it's the same with the voice. So it takes longer, but it is a muscle, and that muscle works if you work it. And you could really hear that in his voice. And similarly, conversely, unfortunately, with Diana Ross, she was really struggling, and she is an amazing singer. But it was mainly backing vocals that we were hearing that were keeping really the melody going. And that is just, it's being out of practice. It literally, or ill health. I obviously I don't know her health, but it sounded to me just like someone who just hasn't sung for a while. And you pay for it. You don't have the muscle memory that you have at 20. You can go to 22 years later. It's like, I was a dancer for you, Harry. I'm sure it's the same. Till I was 30, I could still do this jump up in the air and land in the splits. Once you get past 30, then I admire you. I really can't.
No, I can do the splits, but I have to sort of crouch down to do them, and then I have to wait a while to get up again. So it's not like I jump anymore. I need ropes and
Carrie, I'm afraid we've run out of time. Can you believe it? We always have such a fantastic chat. Really fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, darling. And I really feel,
come and see us soon.
I really feel, Carrie, that you're making a big difference with what you're doing. And I think I have to say that we'd love to have you back, because I know that you and David are writing a book, which is coming out soon, isn't it? So please come back and see us very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, darling.
Thanks, bye, darling. Thanks, Carrie.
Bye. She really is. I mean, honestly, she battles all these things, and she has so many challenges. And as I said at the beginning, her house is, it's so warm, and the kids are fabulous and really make you feel welcome.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Well, we're going to have to say goodbye to Jane.
Yes,
I know.
Thank you for
It's had the most lovely hour. It's been fabulous.
Well, we'll see you again soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we'll see you again
Thanks,
soon. And we will see you guys. We'll see you on Tuesday.
Yeah, we will.
I can't say that.
No, it's very rude.
It's not. We'll see you on Tuesday. We will see you on Tuesday, not next Tuesday. That's what's
Okay. Okay.
I'll stick with both. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.